What's going on, folks? Okay, so in this video, we are going to review Bleach Volume 1, and it's just going to be a review. We're going to discuss some things. My first time reading this whole entire thing. Well, my first time reading manga in general. So I already did a review of Chapter 1 in a previous video, so I won't be going over Chapter 1. Just watch that video, and I'm going to be starting from Chapter 2. I'll be showing some things in here as well, flipping through. I also have some notes, so that way we can kind of stay on task and on track. But let's get right into it. So, Bleach Volume 2, we leave off with Ichigo getting the power from Rukia in order to pretty much become a Soul Reaper. And Chapter 2 starts off with him waking up and basically his dad doing the same shit that he's been doing, beating him up. And, well, not really beating him up because he's not winning, but pretty much just hitting him and stuff like that. But he loses, of course. And he said, I taught you well, and you've learned enough from me. If I cough or if I sneeze, it's because I'm getting over a cold still. All right, so nobody knows exactly what's going on anymore. The family, pretty much, their memory has been wiped somehow, and they've been made to believe that there's some type of accident that happened, to where they all survived or whatnot and came out without a scratch. But Ichigo knows what went down, and he's confused as to why everyone else believes this whole entire, weird lie that's going on around. Fast forward, we go to school and we meet everybody else. So we meet Orihime, pretty much the love interest. I already knew this, like, okay, that has to be the love interest because she's over here daydreaming. And then you have Tatsuki, who comes up, and she's pretty much like Orihime's friend, close friend or whatnot. And she's the one who's just like, I don't see what you see in Ichigo. And she's just like, oh, he's funny, like the faces that he makes and stuff like that. Just like the little childish stuff, right? It's nothing in particular that's just like, oh, this character trait about him. But other than all of the other things that can make him like unlikable, she just likes this one little thing about him. And then we have also, I'm gonna mess this name up. It's Mizuro. I don't know. I've only watched like 5 episodes of the anime a long time ago, so I do not remember the names. So, and I'm only reading the manga right now. So if I mess it up, you let me know or correct me in the comments down below. So, and this is Ichigo's friend because he usually walks with Ichigo to school every day, from what they said. And it's just like, oh, you didn't walk with him today. What happened? And then they talk about like what happened as far as a car running through their house or whatnot. In school, Ichigo pops up. He sits down, and then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, here's Rukia sitting down next to him as well. And he's just like, what the hell? How did you get here? And basically, Rukia is just pretending like she doesn't know. She's like, oh, nice to meet you. Of course, she's putting on the front for everybody else that's around. But she also writes something on her hand. She's just like, if you say anything, then pretty much I'll kill you. Make a scene and you're dead, basically. It's so funny. This manga is hilarious to me. And I really love the mix between comedy and also seriousness of the action that goes on as well. So they leave the classroom and it pretty much explains to him, hey, pretty much you're gonna have to be a Soul Reaper now because you have all my powers. And he's just like, yeah, no chance that I'm gonna do that. I only did that to save my family or whatnot. And she's just like, all right, cool. Since you won't do it, I'm gonna show you something. She puts on this glove and then she just like, yeah, mushes him in the face. And basically she pulled his soul out of his body. And he's freaking out like, what the just happened? And pulling his soul out of his body and takes him to the park. And it is hilarious to me that they get their missions on a cell phone, on a little cell phone. It's just like a text message. Hey, you got be here at this time. Like, okay, that's the notification that I'm gonna be going against a hollow or something like that. So that's hilarious to me that they have that whole entire thing going on there. So with that going on, they're at the park and there's a hollow is supposed to be showing up, and it's supposed to be trying to attack another spirit, a hole basically. And then it shows up and it's chasing after this hole, and then Ichigo is about to go and try and pretty much save the spirit. And here's Rukia just like, oh no, like if you're gonna save one, you have to save them all. You can't just do it because you're gonna be here. Um, Trying to play this whole reverse psychology role on him, and he's just like, well, no, like that's not what I'm gonna do. My decision is I'm going to save them, and I'm going to do this role only because I owe you. Basically, what she did for him in the first one, giving him the powers, and then also saving his family and stuff like that. So now he makes his decision based on, and that's what I like about him in that sense, that he makes his own decisions. He's not like taking what she said, just like, oh wow, you're right. Like I should do this because of this. And it's like this whole revelation is just like, nah, I'm gonna make my own decision and my reason for doing this. Not really like that. That's kind of like taking charge of your life and, not just listening to somebody else and what they say you should be doing, but you sit down. Well, he didn't really have time. It's just like in that whole time freeze instance of making a split decision of, I'm gonna do this because of X, Y, and Z. So he's saying he's not a complete jerk, basically. So it's good to see that he was kind of brash in chapter 1 with the street punks, and then also with some of the jokes that he says and stuff like this. But you also see that he does have some character as far as like he's doing things for his family, for people who can't stick up for themselves, and then he also makes his own decisions based on like just being a person that sticks to their word. So that's really good to see as far as part of his character development thus far that we see. So he pretty much he saves the spirit there. He saves the boy, and it's so funny like how he saves the boy. And basically, as we continue on past that little scene, so now that whole scene just basically established that he's going to be a Soul Reaper, and he's only doing it to pay back Rukia for what she did. Fast forward, now we're getting into a training montage of, well, not a training montage because we don't see the training, but we see Rukia, and we get a scene of Ichigo, not Ichigo, but Orihime as well, and she's about to she gets hit by a car, basically. We don't know what happens. All it does is just skips to a scene of her, Rukia in the park, and Rukia in this park, she's reading this book, and then Ichigo pops up and just like, what are you reading? This is what you're trying to read in order to learn? And you see this right here. And I want to say what she's reading, it's like some type of trash novel, I believe. Yeah, probably some trash novel that she's reading. And it's just like this, there's no way this is how you're learning how to pretty much talk to people, talk to humans in general. Because I forgot to mention, the body that she's in is kind of like a rental body that the Soul Reapers use whenever they're low on power in order to kind of hide from the Hollows. And it's weird, if they're hiding, to me, I'm just like, how can they actually hide from the Hollows? Maybe it's because they sense their spirit energy. I'm gonna go with that theory. Like they sense their spirit energy when they're actually in their Soul Reaper form. But since Rukia doesn't have any spirit energy really, well, it's very low or almost non-existent. So she has to go into this human body. Also, we do know about the Soul Society and everything, but I'm trying to figure out where these Soul Reapers, are they just groomed in general, or is there a whole nother area that, because this is just me like spitballing, because now I'm thinking about this. Were they humans before and then they ended up with the same ultimatum that Ichigo did to turn into a Soul Reaper? Or is this just like a whole nother world? So we don't even get into that in volume 1. So that's one thing to look forward to see like the origins of the Soul Reapers. Yeah, that's gonna be interesting. Now that I'm thinking about this, I've read volume 1, 2, and 3 so far, and we still haven't even got to that. But back to volume 1. So now Ichigo is telling her like, hey, I did your training or whatnot, and it was to hit these balls or whatnot. And he had to hit the balls that, he was only supposed to hit the balls that had pepper in them or something like that, or had the head on them, because he's supposed to be learning how to defeat Hollows. Now, he says he hit them all. The reason why he hit them all is because she's drawing these pictures and he doesn't even understand, like, how am I supposed to know the difference between the two? So that's hilarious to me. These drawings that she does, I hope this continues throughout the whole entire series because to me, this is just a great part of it and it just makes for a good fun and a good laugh. Um, Orihime, she pops up at the park and she's just like saying hi to Ichigo and then Rukia. And Rukia's just like, do I know you? And she goes like, oh my God, of course you know her. This is the girl that it's your classmate. And then she does this weird thing, this weird greeting or whatnot. Pretty much showing us like she has no clue how to interact with humans still. But then they're just like, Orihime, what happened to you? They see her leg and they realize, and she said, oh, I got hit by a car or ran over by a car. She's like, what? You got ran over by a car? And at this instance, I'm just like, oh my God, she's dead. She's dead. The reason why I say this is because, of course, both of them would be able to see her still. But she wasn't dead, and they see the mark on her leg, and she was just like, yeah, it happened because of the car, and then the other day this happened as well. And she's showing them all like the bruises and everything that happens to her. But then she like has to leave and has to go. And Ichigo's just like, oh, do you want me to walk you home? And then this is like, we get a little glimpse into like their relationship. And like I said, I already knew from the beginning that this was the love interest. So we already get a glimpse when she says, oh no, it's fine, I'm okay. And leaves. And then she says, oh, like I should have said like yes, or, you know, to allow him to walk her home or whatnot. And she's just like, oh, next time. But Ichigo, it almost seems like he doesn't know, but he's also just like naive to the fact. He's just naive to the fact that she might have a crush on him. And I don't even know if he really has a crush on her or if he does, but they're not really stating or showing that he has a crush on her so far in this, from what I've read. And so now Rukia is just kind of like asking questions about like, oh, are you close to her? You know, how do you know her? And all this other stuff. And just trying to get some information because of all the marks that she had on her body. And Ichigo pretty much tells her that she used to have a brother and now he's dead. And she's like, ah, I get it now. So now we understand that basically Rukia potentially, or Orihime is potentially being stalked by her brother or haunted. I don't even know what we would call this. Followed, haunted. We'll just call it haunted. Haunted by her brother, her brother ghost. Continuing on. So we get to the house, and now we're back at the house, and his sister Yuzu is asking him just like, oh, like, have you seen my pajamas or whatnot? And they in the house. He's just like, no, I haven't seen him or not. He goes upstairs and then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, Rukia pops up out of his closet because she gets a notification that there's a hollow that's about to pop up. And he's like, what in the hell? Those are my sister's pajamas and all this other stuff. But she has no time to explain that because there is literally a hollow trying to rip his soul out of his body right then and there. But she pretty much gets him out of the way, whatnot. But the hollow ends up getting slashed in the face and then running off. And but here's the thing. Ichigo gets a look at the hollow and realizes that was Orihime's brother. Boom. Mind blown for Ichigo, that is. And I want to say, like, I already knew that was the hollow that was going to attack him because of what already led up to that. As far as us knowing that Orihime is pretty much being followed or haunted by her brother's ghost. So I already kind of figured that might be what's going on now. And then Rukia pretty much explains that, yes, hollows were once human. And that's the reason why you don't want to attack them head on, because then you'll hesitate and more than likely you'll be taken out. At least that's what I got from it, from insinuating what she said. So now we go to the scene where Orihime and Tatsuki's at, I don't even know, are they at, I don't know whose house they're at, but let's just say they're at, Orihime's house because there's a teddy bear there and it's Orihime's teddy bear, okay? So let's just say they're at Yeah, I probably should have got that from the beginning because I was looking at this scene the whole time and I'm just like, where are they? I don't understand. So basically now they're at so Ichigo and Rukia's at his house and they're just going back and forth between this whole thing and Rukia's just like we don't have time. They need to go and save Orihime before she pretty much gets her soul eaten by her brother because he's already on the loose and he's headed that way right now. Now, this funny scene, I can't believe I was gonna skip over this whole entire thing. Look, these girls are out of control. At least Tatsuki is, because now Orihime is pretty much telling her about like what you should have done instead of just not being walked home by Ichigo. She's like, "You are freaking stupid," and she's like, "Don't be rude." She was just like, you blew your chance, basically. And she just went into detail in talking about you should have grabbed him by this and did this, threw him to the ground. This girl has she's a freak. She's a freak. Tatsuki's a freak, I'm telling you. And she's like a bad influence on Orihime. Now you find a little bit later on, you're just like, okay, all right, she really doesn't want it to go down like that, but she's saying all these things. And then look, they definitely well, I'm not even gonna say hypersexualized, but they pretty much put an emphasis on Tatsuki's boobs because they were just like, oh, you should have threw him in his face. Then he would have chased you, not you chasing her. And then she goes off into this like little daydream sequence, and you see the little characters and how they look whenever they're daydreaming. It's so hilarious. But that's that's one of the reasons why I really enjoy this series is because you go from the seriousness of him being attacked by a hollow, Ichigo being attacked by the hollow, and then figuring out that that's Orihime's dead brother, and then running after Orihime and them going back and forth that they used to be humans, and that whole entire serious scene. And then you get to Orihime and Tatsuki, and now you get to this whole entire scenario of two schoolgirls talking about what you should have did with that. It's hilarious. So it kind of breaks up the tension. It doesn't keep it so serious the whole entire time, and it's really good. I love that back and forth dynamic of it. But now getting back to the whole entire Orihime daydream, and she went like all out with her daydream. It just went from one thing to the next. But then finally we get to the teddy bear, and the teddy bear ends up being, of course, inhabited by the spirit of her brother, attacks Orihime, and Tatsuki's just like, what in the world just happened there? And then it attacks Tatsuki, and Tatsuki has no clue what's going on. Neither one of them does. And it pretty much rips Orihime's soul out of her body. And then they cut to a scene to where now Rukia is explaining to Ichigo that the whole entire deal with hollows and what they are. And basically, hollows used to be whole spirits. They're lost souls that were not admitted to the soul society by a soul reaper and were not saved from other hollows. Pretty much they got eaten. Basically, they lose their hearts and try to fill it. They try to fill it by eating other souls to ease their pain. So, and basically they start with their family members. So they attack families. So it says hollows attack humans and ghosts randomly after they've eaten their own families. So if you see that. So that's crazy to me that they, eat their own families. But I guess it's for them to not be alone and not feel lonely, or to bring their family to them. As we see as we go forward, like they kind of lose a lot of their humanity once they become hollows as well. So they're still zooming over to the house. And now we go back to the sequence of Tatsuki still doesn't understand what's going on, but Orihime's still confused as far as like this chain that's attached to her chest as well in this scene. But as we know, like now it's basically she's still attached to her body, so she's still not completely dead, but she's like in between now, and she's trying to save Tatsuki from being destroyed or being eaten by this hollow. But she gets knocked to the floor again, and basically Tatsuki is still in the living realm. She hasn't had her soul knocked out of her body, and then this hollow, which is hurt. Well, is after Orihime, just like, oh, you don't know me. She can't see us. How do you know my name? And he said, have you forgotten my voice? That wounds me, Orihime. And then Ichigo pops in, save the day. He hasn't recognized or seen Orihime yet. And basically you kind of see it's that typical like superhero protagonist or protagonist character that makes a joke and calls names at the villains that they're attacking or whatnot. And he uses that a lot, I see, throughout the series. So he jumps in between them, he attacks them, he sees what's going on, and then he realizes that Orihime can see him, and now he's confused because he's a spirit right now. But then this pretty much a hollow says, oh, she's dead, and then knocks him out of the room or knocks him out of the way. And then pretty much he comes back in, he tries to attack it again, and then he gets hit by some acid or whatnot that hits his hand. And then they run out. He grabs, the hollow pretty much grabs Orihime, and then the hollow is just basically like, you don't recognize my voice, you don't realize who I am. And then that's when we see like, she's just like, oh, Sora? And he says, yes. And then now they're going through this whole monologue going, you know, what happened? There's pretty much like, they stopped the whole entire action and now they're talking and having this heart to heart. Once again, it breaks up the tension of it being serious again. It is serious, but it makes it more sentimental at the moment now. So now it's like, oh, this is what happened. This is why, you know, you used to pray for me all the time, and then you stopped, and then now you stopped when you started hanging out with Tatsuki, and then also you started talking to me more about Ichigo and all this stuff, and now like that hurts me. You left me alone, and I felt so lonely when you did all that, and it made him want to kill. And then that's when, once again, he flips the switch again, and now he's going back into like killer mode, as pretty much Ichigo tries to attack him again. And he was saying like, how do you think all that made me feel? And he was just like, I'll kill you. Basically, you can see that when they become a hollow, like they lose a lot of their humanity, almost all of their humanity, basically, and they can't really rationalize and think straight, because he's like, I'm gonna kill you. And he grabs her. I'm just like, this man is a psycho. But he's a spirit, hollow. So Ichigo intervenes, chops off the hand or whatnot. So she's released. And he's just like, that is no way to talk to your little sister. Like, you're a monster for saying you're going to kill your sister. Basically, I mean, Ichigo has sisters too. So he's like, that's not how a big brother protects his sister. And then he explains like he raised her and he did all this. And if he can't have her, then no one will. And he attacks Ichigo again. And then basically Sora's just like, well, or Hime just like, please stop, and trying to prevent him from pretty much taking out Ichigo. And now he turns around and he goes after her. And in this instance, I'm just like, what in the heck? He pretty much like, it looks like he basically eats her, but he doesn't. He just like gnaws on the shoulder, and she was just saying like, I'm sorry. And then that stops him in his tracks. And she's saying I'm sorry and explaining to him like that she just wanted him, she didn't want his spirit to be sad how she was sad and constantly praying and hoping that he would come back. She wanted to express that all the happiness that she was experiencing, so that way he can be happy for her as well. And that's why she was sharing all those things. So it's like being selfless, really. Like, you know, you're still in pain, but you don't want the people that you care about to still suffer. So that's what she was explaining to him. And then he's finally like coming to his senses and getting his humanity back. And then now Rukia pops in and just like, okay, you can attack him now. But Ichigo's just like, nah, this doesn't feel right. And during that moment, now he sees what's going on, and he can rationalize again, Sora that is, and he understands that she did it for all the right reasons. And now, pretty much he takes himself out. He stabs himself with, okay, I'm not gonna say the sword's name because I gotta get that right, but with Ichigo's sword to reap himself and to rid himself of the pain and suffering and to pretty much cleanse himself from that, because now we know that they're cleansed whenever they, this is what it explains. So to reap hollows is not really to kill them. Reaping merely frees them of sin. So they're not actually killing them. They're just cleansing them of sin. So that was a relief for him. So the main reason that soul reapers exist in order to cleanse the spirits of their sins, so that way they can move on to the soul society. And now you see this moment, this kind of this flashback moment where Orihime is just like, I never got a chance to say goodbye, and the last time we spoke, it was on bad terms. And that's just like one of those things everyone just wishes that would never happen, that the last thing that you said to somebody was something bad, or you were angry at them. And that was the last time she saw him, and she never got to say, have a good day, or have a nice day. And then Sora's finally able to pass on peacefully and rest in peace. And then after that sentimental moment, they literally go back to, Orihime's just like, okay, what the hell is then? Bam! She gets knocked out with this, let's call it memory potion or something like that, and hits the floor. And Ichigo just like, what the hell did you just do to her? And it was basically like, I erased her memory so that way, no one can know about us. Basically, they can't know about this. And she's gonna have a totally different memory, but we can't control it. And she has this outlandish memory about what happened, and saying the same to Tatsuki, and they're explaining it to everyone about like what happened to them in their house. And then we get to the final chapter in the volume, and we're introduced to Chad now, and some friends and a parakeet. And Chad is like this big brooding guy. I said brooding guy, but he's more like a big stoic looking guy. And we see this parakeet, and this parakeet can pretty much talk just like a human, basically. But we realize it's inhabited by a spirit. And they're just trying to figure out who's going to take the parakeet, because the parakeet seems to have some bad luck, because all the owners ended up dying when they had the parakeet. So why would anybody want to be around that parakeet is beside me. And they're just like, Chad, you like weird things. But then all of a sudden, like a beam falls down, and Chad over here, once again, now we see how strong this man is. Obviously, I'm thinking in my head, he's either going to become a Soul Reaper himself, or he's just going to be super powerful in a human form, or play just a huge factor in like battles that's to come in the future, from what I can see here, just based on how strong he is as a human. And we also see more in volume 2. So with that, they skip to school on the rooftop. They're having lunch. We're reintroduced to Mizuro. I'm gonna get that wrong. Mizuro, Ichigo's close friend. And then we also see Keigo for the first time. And Keigo is this over-the-top loud guy that pretty much has, how would we describe this? He's infatuated with any woman that crosses his path, basically. That's what it seems like. He's very over the top, as we can see him explaining that to Rukia. But also, they were saying like Mizuro is like this player as well. Don't let him. He's like, oh no, I like older women and whatnot. And Rukia is just standing by, just trying to figure out how to put a straw in a juice box, basically, this whole entire time as this all is playing out. Then you get this bully that pops up and is trying to attack Ichigo. Keigo's trying to get in between them and break it up. And I'm just like, at this moment, I'm thinking, why is he trying to, do they not know that Ichigo's not, one, he's not afraid of anybody. And he beat up a whole host of street punks earlier on in this volume. So I don't know if everyone else at school doesn't know this, that he can fend for himself, or he doesn't show it at school. I'm confused when it comes to that, why he intervened in the first place. But maybe it was to show that Chad is the big bad in school, because when this kid tries to attack him, Chad just comes in and just knocks this kid out of nowhere. And they're just like, oh, Chad, we're so happy you're here. Well, at least Keiko is. And then they see Chad all banged up, and they're wondering what happened. And they see this parakeet, and Ichigo and Rukia immediately just like, okay, yeah, something's going on here with this parakeet. Then we go into the hospital. There's like this big accident that happened. So they're running around. Yuzu, Karen, they're all running around trying to get everything settled and get the patients in, because there's a lot of people that got injured during this accident. And the dad's talking on the phone, just trying to figure out how to get everything settled out. And then Ichigo pops in. He's just like, anything I can do. And then his dad's like, no, assume the fetal position and stay out of the way. And then they show Ichigo in the fetal position, and it says useless right there. That is hilarious to me. So, and then all of a sudden Chad walks in, and he's banged up, and they show him, and they see like this really nasty wound on his back. And immediately we're just like, okay, obviously we see that the parakeet has something following it. It's not from the parakeet, but something's trying to get after the parakeet, or it's just hanging around the parakeet. But Chad's just like, no, I'm okay, I'm fine, but then passes out, and they put him on the bed. And then Rukia and Ichigo just like sensing it, and just like, yeah, there's nothing that I sense that's evil about the parakeet, but that wound reeks of a hollow. And then that's when we leave off. So we already know, now we're continuing on, and we're trying to figure out this whole scenario that's about to play out with the parakeet and whatever hollow may be behind them after Chad, because he's around the parakeet. So volume 1, great, hilarious, good action, some sentimental moments, just some relatability, good character building as far as the relationships between the two. Like I really enjoyed chapter 1, and on the next one we're gonna get into well, I said chapter 1, volume 1. We're gonna get into volume 2 and what I read from that. But you tell me your experience from chapter 1, what you enjoyed, your favorite moments from, I keep saying chapter 1, volume 1, down in the comment section below, and I'll see you in the next video.